I love your pen. Oh, thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna do some conservation training and we are so pleased to have DeAnn here to do it for us. She is the guru of all things conservation. What we want to do is we want to start with our basics. What do I do whenever my person leaves from payroll deduction? Scott, will you do me a favor and grab, oh, sorry.
Well, grab
I
a.
was gonna close that door.
It's like when we start with the handshake first.
There's
All right.
So we grab.
grab the door.
Well, that's all.
I know you were, I'm sorry. We are mutually respectful of others.
Well, I thought it.
I'm just kidding.
Scott,
I'm just
personal
kidding. You're
space,
good, you're
bubbles.
good.
$20.
$20.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna talk about conservation. If you have your computer and you wanna pull up the
You need to have your
transfer
computer.
from payroll deduction or develop those transferred from
You need to
PD.
be in your Google Drive. Not an option.
She's gonna walk you through exactly what we do whenever somebody leaves a workplace. Just remember, Tony says all the time, it's not about what we write, it's about what we keep. This is a vital part to the success of this agency and you as your own renewals and your own book of business build.
While we're still getting our computers up and getting out into the Google Drive, I do know that we have some new people here. So I know for those of you that have sat through my conservation training before, you're like, "Ugh, can we do this again?" Yes, because we have to be able to get the main step down. If we don't get that main step down, I can't help you. I can easier for me to help you on an individual basis. Like come to my office for a redate. I can walk you through that and you're not gonna be doing that as often as you're gonna be doing this. So I wanna be able to get all of your new people, those of you SAs and GAs, get all your new people up to par of where they need to be with just the regular, straightforward one-on-one conservation. How you doing, Bobby?
You need a trip if you don't, Bobby.
Probably.
So I'm gonna start sharing it with everybody, or if Danielle, you wanna do that while I still talk, get Portia in.
I'm out of here.
Portia, were you not here at one on training?
It's not.
Did not watch the video either, did you?
No, I know how to do this though.
You did not watch the training video. Ryder needs in too, I think.
Which?
Scott needs in. So while she's getting you guys entered into the shared drive where all the conservation happens, I want to make sure you guys all have this piece of paper in your hands. Those of you who are on Zoom, please let me know if you are not on the conservation tracker in the Google Drive. Lori, are you? Give me a thumbs up. Yes, no? Anthony, are you? No? Okay, Anthony needs to go in.
A.m.parks.
Correct. Yes.
He's on it.
Okay, you are on it, Anthony.
A.m.parks.
And then I believe, Jessica White.
Justin needs it, yep.
Oh, wait, wrong Jessica. My bad.
Jay White does it. Big A White.
And then you want to check for Phil. I don't believe Philip will be in there either. So that pretty much has everybody, and all of you that are on Zoom and those that are not driving, please take a look at this conservation form. So what you guys have in front of you on that conservation form, I have it circled with the one we're talking about, which is your main conservation. What is conservation? Portia asked me that this morning. And I was like, I ain't gonna confuse you. You just hold on. And I forgot I was doing training today. And I'm like, okay.
This is the wrong thing. Or is this what we need?
No, that's what you
She
need.
said transfer from payroll deduction to bank draft.
There's a piece of paper.
Lori, are you on it?
This one.
I'm messing with
I double asked.
All right, so on the conservation form, this is your basic. So what we're talking about when we say what is conservation? Conservation is you're at a franchise, you did an enrollment, right? You wrote 10 policies. One of those policies from that person that you wrote, they ended up getting another job, left about 2 months later, and you get a notification. You call them up. Hey, remember when we sat down and talked? I told you your policies go with you. All of you guys have been to enrollment, except maybe Portia just yet, right?
Correct.
So when you're in enrollment, you tell them, hey, your policies go with you. That's one of the perks, right? So how do we get them to go with them? They go to bank draft. So they're sitting there, they've been at work, they're on, payroll deduction, they're getting their tax savings event, benefits. They leave, we call them, we let them know, hey, remember I told you that this goes with you? Yeah, you did. I'm so excited you called me because I was really worried, didn't know how that happened, how that worked. Or they will actually tell you even a month later, it does? I didn't know that. What do you mean it goes with me? Happens all the time. So you just go through it all over again as if you're basically re-enrolling them, but explaining to them meetup why they get to keep it. So when you're talking to them and you're getting them switched over, they need to go to bank draft in order to keep their policy. They can go month to month and pay the premium on their own. How many of you also know how many times you're gonna be late making that payment or not paid at all, forget about it, you're gonna have to follow up with them, be like, hey, got a notice again, you didn't pay your payment, we don't want you to lose your policy. A lot of extra work, so home office just goes directly to bank draft. So that is something that I did not cover in a couple of my other classes, and you do have the option of, well, I don't want you to have my bank number. Don't have to, absolutely not. We can set you up, I'll give home office a call, have them send you a monthly bill in the mail, but you get to keep your policy. All right, so, in the conservation form, it's called recode issued business. I was like, I knew there was a word in there. Recode issued business, and that's all it means. You're recoding it from it being on payroll deduction to bank draft. Now, there is a thing on here you can read right below underneath it, may waive up to 3 months of missed premium. Once 3+ months pass due, you must reinstate or redate. Don't worry about that last part, the reinstate and redate, that'll something I'll work with you one-on-one, or if we can get to a point, I can go into an advanced conservation class, I will teach the whole entire thing. So we all know why we conserve, right? What is the downfall if you don't conserve and you don't make the attempt to make these phone calls?
Or rather somebody else can get that or get a, what is it, back charge, yeah,
Charge back.
If it's within the first year, yeah.
You go into persistency jail. Does everybody know what that means?
No, can you explain that?
I'm not very good at that, but I will give it my best roundabout way.
No, it's not the big.
So- You went to that enrollment, you wrote 10 policies, right? And you weren't able to get a hold of that person that left in 2 months to get them to conserve their policy. So you've already been paid for the whole year, correct, on that policy? Remember how all that breaks down? So you now have to pay back whatever they didn't pay for that year. So conservation means you're protecting your paycheck because it's coming out of your commission account and now your numbers dropped. Guess what happens if that's 20 policies for that week? You lost a whole entire franchise, or you had that just that many over the time that just happened to fall off at the same time. It starts affecting your paycheck. It affects your bonus levels because the lower that goes and the more those are falling off and you're not conserving them and keeping them active policies, the longer you're gonna be in persistency jail, which means your bonuses are gonna come down to a 0 and then you're gonna be in the negative.
And where do we make most of our money? Bonus.
Bonus and commission. Yep. And then also the other perk to it is if they keep this policy for 12 months, guess what? Now you're on renewals. You don't have to worry about that chargeback. But do you want them to lose that policy? No, because that's your retirement. If it's, especially if it's a life policy, hope to God nothing happened to that policy holder. We're just talking one person, but imagine how many people you've sat down and wrote. You've got how many thousands of people underneath you that are counting on that policy being there, and they're gonna pay for that until the rest of their life, until they do die. So you're gonna get that money every month. So conserve it. It helps your persistency, it helps everything, helps your retirement. It's all the way across the board. Makes you more money, keeps that client happy, and we follow through with what we said, that it goes with you. Most of them never remember it goes with them. So the importance of calling them immediately as soon as you know that they're no longer at that job is highly important. There's a couple reasons I say that. When they have left their job, there's 2 things. One, if I got fired, they don't have another job lined up, probably not. So you have a longer window that you can get a hold of them. Most people, when they leave a job, they've already got one lined up. They know what it takes to pay their bills. We all do, right? So you're not just gonna wing it and be like, oh, I can find a job. Somehow I do. We've met a few. You're like, how do you do that? So most on the average, most people already have a job lined up or they got fired. And now they're scrambling going, oh my gosh, how do I pay my bills? What am I gonna do? How well is that phone call gonna go when you need to ask them for $100 a month? If they already have a job lined up, what do you think the first adverse reaction you're gonna get from them when you call them about their policy?
But I already have benefits in my new place.
Yep, bingo. So in preparation for that, there's a couple things I do to prepare before I make that phone call, because I'm walking in 1 or 2 situations. Either they got fired, they don't have any money, so I'm gonna have that conversation. Two, they've already got a new job, they've offered them these flashy new benefits, right? So what I do to prepare is I already know who I'm calling. On my policy details page for that policy holder, you guys have all seen it in Epic, right? It has on there when the policy was issued. Oh, you've had this policy for 5 years? There's my win on that argument, because I'm gonna call them, I'm gonna already have a total of. I'm gonna be like, you've had this policy for 5 years, you've been paying $100 a month on this times 5 years. Do you really want to write a check to home office for that amount? So I will have that total right there in front of my face, so I can be like, I hate to see you like let it go. I understand that they may be offering you really great benefits, and there's tons of wonderful benefits out there. So again, it's all positive when you're talking to them. So what I'd like to do is like just at least show you what you have and you currently still in force. And I would love to be able to talk to you about what they're offering you so you can make an educated decision. I didn't down on what they're being offered. I just said, let me look it over and we could do a side-by-side pros and cons and you can make a decision. I said, like, so I'd love to be able to do that with you. Do you have time now? Do you want to set up some time? And I've sat down with them and they're like, oh, this one's crap. I don't want it. It's your call, but I mean, the plus side of mine is this, you know? But yeah, it's crap. It is absolutely crap, or it is greater than mine. And you know, it's on you. You decide, because at this point I have no argument. But no, that's what you're trying to go after. You're having a conversation and be supportive of what they're going through, to understanding that they've been offered these bright, shiny little pennies at the bottom of the jar, and it looks great, sounds great. What are the one things that we can do with a life policy that most other companies can't?
Paid off by $60.
Take it with them. Most of them, they offer them like $100,000 free life policy. This one's free. When you get fired or you leave or you retire, about the time when you're getting elderly and you're retired and you're gonna be trying to count on that life policy, it's gone. So you want to make sure it's, and again, you've had this policy for 5 years, why would you sign up, that much money over to home office for free? That's how they make their money, is people signing that paycheck over and walking away. And I've seen people do it on a 20-year policy. I was conserving one that was 75,000, 78, right around in there. Life policy, been paying on it for 15 years. And I picked it up and I'm like, dang, I'm saving this one. But I was like, that's what keyed me into how much money she had spent. And I actually called her back and I was like, do you want to just touch base with me? Because I was doing some numbers and I was wrapping up your case before I went ahead and put that through that you're not wanting to keep your policy. I said, you've had this policy for 15 years. And I said, here's the total amount that you paid to home office for this coverage. And I said, you're almost, another couple more years, you'll be 65, it'll be paid up and it stays with you. You don't ever have to make another payment. And I said, you just wrote them basically a little bit of money. And she was like, well, that is disturbing. Well, it's too late now because I already signed up for the others. Hey, but see, if I'd already had my argument, I could have won. But if I could have had the totals with me and I knew I could have won that objection and kind of gotten her to go, oh, that's actually a good thought. Because now she's got to start another policy and she's 15 years older. You're paying twice the amount of money for something that's not going to go with you. It was just insane. And then I was like, aha, okay, I get it now. So that's going to be my argument. Even if they've had it for 9 months, I'm like, hey, $400. She's going to sign that check over. I hate to see you lose your coverage, and I hate to see you just, throw that money away. So you've got to appeal to their side of why they signed up with you in the first place. And it helps if it's your client, but if it's not, just in your head, they were with you and they sat there. So just talk to them as if they were your client that you'd sat with 4 months ago, a year ago. So the whole point to recoding issue business is to keep it on the books, get them switched over to bank draft. So on the bottom portion down there, you'll see I've got it, well, it's not highlighted because it's copied in black and white, but the bottom section, let me scroll down so you guys on Zoom can see it. No, maybe, possibly. So right here, the highlighted sections is the only information that you need to give me. And actually, Danielle, am I correct? Is there a new conservation form?
Yes.
You
There
conservation
is.
at the bottom, just it says to have, like, give me a second.
I failed. There is a new conservation form out, guys. So I will, huh?
No, this is the other one that we move into starting in September.
Yeah, it just changed over this month and I forgot about that.
That's okay.
There's only a little bit, guys, that are on Zoom that's a little bit different. And I'll make sure I'll leave out copies for everybody and I'll shoot an email out with it.
The biggest difference is it gives the waiver premium eligibility at the bottom. That's how you can tell the difference. It gives you how many months due they are in their bills. like by how many days they're behind. So I can go make copies of this real quick and hand them out.
If you want to, that'll work too.
Yeah, I need to make copies for myself anyways.
Right.
So we're good. I only have 3 left in here.
I'll just shoot a quick email out to everybody that's here today and I'll send them out to you guys, but we'll have extra copies out. Totally spaced on that, my fault. But basically the main information that you want to get is policy number, insurance name, and that is important versus the payer name. A lot of times we have a different payer than we have the insured. So make sure both of those are on there. You need the bank name, city and state. I don't need the actual address. If it's an online bank, put their city and their state on there. That's a big question I get asked all the time. Routing number, account number, draft date. Draft date is important. It used to be open to whatever date month you wanted. They changed it 1st through the 10th only. So you have to have them pick a date that they want to have the draft taken out. You want 1st to the 10th, pick a date. Next month when they do that draft, that'll be the date it'll come out. And then you're going to sign, and then you're going to put your agent number. You notice the line below that where it says AOQM agency number and date. Please do not fill that out. And please do not scribble. If you make a mistake on this form, trash it, write a new one. There is no signature required from the policy holder, so you are free and clear to shred it and redo it. We will get it rejected. It'll be another week down the road before we can get the form back in for say 3 days a week, whatever. But home office will not accept it if there's whiteout, the date's wrong, it's past 14 days. So never put the date on there and don't put that whole bottom line. Tony or myself or Amanda will sign it. We'll put that agency number on there. We'll date it from the date we send it in. Now, speaking of dates, this is where it gets a little tricky. So on conservation, our month runs on the 15th. So your policy is due to be paid. It's built on the 1st, right?
Yep.
On the 15th is the end of that payment. Like they're late in the payment and you're now a month behind if you go past the 15th. So when you're doing conservation, you're asking them for that date. This is the easiest way to explain this. If I send in a conservation form before the 15th, they're gonna draft immediately for the month of September, okay? Already past the 15th, but if I had sent it in on the 5th, they're gonna draft immediately for that policy on September. Now, if I send it in on the 16th of September, it's not gonna get drafted until the date they picked in October.
So then we have to waive September.
Or you don't have
Say
to.
that again.
Yes. So, you guys all following me here? Because these dates are pretty important. There's the 15th as a cutoff. If I send in my conservation form and I said they want to be deducted on the 5th. I send it in, they're gonna deduct. If I send it in on the 16th, they won't deduct until October 5th. So the 15th is the cutoff. So say they were due to pay their first bill in September, but they said they just lost their job. Remember I was talking about they lost their job, they don't have another one, they don't know how this is gonna happen. You let them know, hey, remember that 3 months waiver underneath there that I was reading to you earlier? So we can waive September for them. We can say, hey, you know what, I got authorization that they allowed me to go ahead and waive September for you, so you actually have 30 days we don't have to worry about. You never have to look back. You'll never get a bill for September. It's gone.
That month comes out of our division.
Oh, yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Everybody
It's
knows
not
that,
actually
right?
wait.
It's not actually wait, it's wait for the policyholder.
Someone pays for it, but it's not them, and if they're going through a change in their life. And you get to keep it for a lifetime, 1 month is really a small amount.
Right. I just wanted everybody to know that.
Yes, I'll get to the ugly part of that. So, remember that date, the 15th is a cutoff. Why is that important? Because you're gonna end up bouncing somebody's checking account if you don't pay attention to those dates. They have 5-6 policies, that's a couple $100. And you mess it up and turn it in on the 14th and they charge that client immediately that month and they weren't expecting it until October. I've had those phone calls because I did it.
So
No,
if you're ever unsure, put a sticky notice to when they're gonna get their first one, that when you talk to them, and Amanda will make sure that it's there on the right day.
I actually had to pay a lady back $700 because I bounced her check. Bounced. Massively bounced her checking account because of dates were mixed up. It wasn't for the 15th, there was no scenario, but I actually paid it out of my pocket.
Womp womp.
Yeah. And lost all the conservation on top of it. So all of my long work and effort, I mean, we had 15 policies, grandchildren's policies, kids' policies. We were switching it over, her being the owner back to her daughter was taking one, her other daughter was taking the other. hung myself, done, over with, never talk to me again. I had to pay her back some good portion of money, so be careful with your dates, and that's why I say don't put a date on there.
I put a box around the front for me to fill out.
Thank you.
On all this.
So a sticky note on your conservation form when you turn it into Amanda or myself for processing, saying, hey, this client knows they're not paying for September, we're waiving. First date is the 5th. You can write the 5th up there, but please do not date the bottom of that so that we can know by looking at that sticky note or your notes in the email that you send us when we need to submit it for you. Okay? That's it. I know. Bye, Jessica. Be in touch, girl. Stay in touch.
Of course, I'm not gonna be like losing y'all numbers or anything like that.
We were like, who dis?
Phone number, who dis? New number. I'll be sending like random pictures to people too. They're like, hey, don't forget me. I'm still here. It's just life took a turn. I had to take a step back again.
Okay.
So
You know, you reach out.
great life, Jessica.
Hey, we all gotta make adjustments. Paul, if anything changes and we can jump back in, we'll jump
It's
back in.
no for now, but maybe some later, right? Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Okay. Hi,
I
Jess.
can speak to somebody.
Okay.
Say bye to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, bye. All right, so, that remembering that 15th date is super important for that. What else am I missing?
For simple 3 months.
So on the 3-month waiving thing, we only were talking about waiving 1 month. So you can waive up to 3 months, and I use that very leisurely, and this leads me into what Bobby, Dolan was. Whoa. That could be payback. I still owe you one. Yeah. So that 3 month waiver, you have 3 months that you can waive for this. Now you're talking to somebody that's your own person that you sat down and wrote. So you got paid on that policy, right? So you're gonna be real ginger about offering all 3 of those months, aren't you? The best option is to get all of the money paid up. They can call customer service, they can make a full on payment. If it's before the 15th, you can be like, hey, I can go send this paper down. They're gonna go ahead and draft your account. Oh, actually, I don't have a job until next month and I'm kind of pissed. Oh, okay, well, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I know I've been there, you start the rapport, you keep the conversation going, sympathize with them, move on. All right, the best thing that I can do is I can get the authorization to waive September for you. But say we're already a month behind and you're not calling them, they were already due for September, now you're in. And they were already due for August, you're now in September. Going into October would be month 3, and they're already saying, well, I don't start my job for another couple more weeks. I don't know, I've got to play catch up. Now is the time that you mentioned the full 3 months, so they can be covered for August, covered for September. You've talked to them, they're still wanting to keep it. You go ahead and offer to waive October too. Their next payment will be November. Okay, that's where those things come in place. Like Danielle was saying, if it's your person, you're going to be a lot more cautious because that's your paycheck you're waiving. Because yes, you get to keep the policy and you're not have to pay back all the rest of those months that they fell off. Yes, that's even better. But you're going to be paying for those 3 months out of your commission account. Yes,
So do you let them know this? Where
No.
you're like,
no,
and this comes out of my
No.
like guilt trip, then no, I'm not getting.
No.
No?
Do you wanna do
Okay.
what it would look like?
If you did that, they would be like, wow, you're just over here looking up for your own paycheck. I get it, but wow. No, you don't want to go that route. You want to always use it as, you know what, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna go ahead and waive this. And get that taken care of for you. And I always say, it's like, I went ahead and got pre-authorization to do this for you. Free nothing. Sounds official though.
Right.
And they buy into it big time. They're like, oh, you did?
Technically,
Tells them,
you are pre-authorized to do it. It's
Kind
not
of
your job.
I mean, it's pre-authorized. I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I pre-authorized myself to do it. I didn't say who pre-authorized me, but I got the pre-authorization, so it tells them instantly you were thinking about it, looking at their policy, paying attention to what options they may or may not have. But you never want to tell them that you're paying for it for them. It's it's if a home office ever got wind of that, it would be and they would kind of give you a bad boy. And so they say you cannot tell them that. You just tell them we have their authorization to waive the 3 months. So I was touching on it where you lose those 3 months out of your paycheck, yes, but do you get to keep the policy? Here's the other trigger, is when I do conservation, and this is leading me into the next fun part. I didn't pay any of those policies. These people, it's not my paycheck, it's not my commission account. Do you want me calling on your policies?
Not for you.
I'll wait 3 months right now.
Exactly, that's what I'm going to do, because it's not my paycheck. Okay, now in my position as the ops manager running all the behind the scenes, yes, it is, because it goes all the way up to Tony's paycheck. That one policy affects it all the way up the chain to Tony. So that affects it all the way down to us as the office staff and my girls. So when I'm looking at raises, stuff like that, Tony's persistency goes down, Tony's paycheck goes down. Office paychecks go down because it's like going all the way up and all the way back down. So what does that mean when it comes time when the girls want to have an outing or we want? Oh, yeah, no, did you just keep offering to waive a year's worth of premium? So it does affect my paycheck, but if when I'm looking at it, I'm not concerned about that, but I'm concerned about keeping the policy. So you're more tedious about offering that right out the gate. I offer it. Because I'm trying to get a mass through there and I'm trying to get them to agreeable to it. If they sound like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot I meant to pay that. They can't. I'll get the extra bonus in my check. You're gonna go ahead and pay. If they are fussy about it, I'm not fussing with them. That's not my policy. When I was out there writing business as an agent, yes, I was fussy. I was like, well, they won't give me the authorization for the 2 months, but I can do this month. So I bartered with them, even though I knew I could. But it's your paycheck. You want to keep the business on there. You want to protect them. You want to keep them with their coverage. So keep that in mind, but also be selfish about your paycheck. Think about it clearly. But waiving that 3 months is the winning ticket. They can only do that once a year. If they're on an individual bank draft, so you've taken them from worksite, been on bank draft, they've been on bank draft for 6 months. They fall off, you call them back to try and get them back on, you cannot waive anything. It's to be a year from the time they have made their first payment. So they have to go a full year making bank draft payments before you can offer a waiver again. Yes.
So this one's for my confusion.
Mhm.
So let's say I had the policy and I was working construction or whatever, and I injured myself.
Mhm.
And then I was out of the office for like a month, 2 months or something.
Yep.
And I'm not making a paycheck at that time from the job. How do that I then pay?
You're gonna run into that so many times because it happens all the time and we deal with it all the time. So the easiest way you do it is when you notice, if you're talking to the business owner, you get a notice that they're temporarily off on leave, means they're not making payroll deductions. You're like, oh, this one's gonna fall off. So if you call them, like, oh, I've been off work for a month, man, I feel bad, but I don't have the money to keep it up. All right, when did you leave work? And you already know because you've done your research before you called them, how long they've been out of work. Say they've been out of work for 2 weeks, they're looking at a full month before they're back. All right, that's only 1 month. You tell you what, Scott, what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna go ahead and waive this month so you can get back to work. I'm gonna put you on bank draft. You're gonna go ahead and stay on bank draft and make your first payment next month. I'll get such and such bookkeeper to get you back on once you come back and we'll get you switched back over so you get that payroll deduction. All the paperwork's a lot, but I'm gonna handle that for you, Scott. Make sure it's all taken care of. You won't have to fuss with anything. I'll make sure it's all taken care of for you. But that's the plan. I'll waive this 1 month for you, but I'm actually probably gonna be on 2 months. Sorry, I can cover you. We'll just touch base next month. We'll see how it looks and how you're healing up and everything. That's how you do it.
Okay, I was just gonna, cause it's 3 months until a policy gets terminated on the
Mhm.
work site too.
Mhm.
So 3 months is just a magic number for a lot of the things here. So there are policies that are like a month behind comparatively because they were out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
It happens a lot. They're out for a week or 2 weeks and there's no paycheck, so the bookkeeper it's not gonna deduct it and they're not covering it for you. So they can call in and make that payment of it on their own, or someone will just sit there and just keep floating. That. Unfortunately, if it happens a couple of times, then they're a month behind and then home office is like going to us as the queue. I'm like, hey, we have a policy holder that the bill's not matching, what they're supposed to be paid, they're a month behind on their. So it's one of those, you just play the tricky game of trying to figure out and balance it, but it happens all the time. So that's what you tell them. You're like, I'm gonna go ahead and wait this month for you while you're at home recouping, recovering. We'll touch base in a couple weeks right before you're supposed to go back, make sure that that's so good to go. And then we'll go from there, but we'll get the start to get you on bank draft and it won't come out until next month. Just do that. And then you work the way of in the paperwork back behind the scenes. Once they're ready to go back to work, then you work the paperwork to get them back on the payroll deduction. And that's not hard at all. You just fill out a payroll authorization form. We send it into home office from the QM email and boom, they're back on it. They make their last payment on bank draft and then they start their deductions. Here's the tricky part on that. They have to pay that bank draft while deductions are happening that month for all 4 weeks. If they're weekly paid, right? But they still have to make that bank draft payment. Because on work site, they pay backwards. On bank draft and conservation, they pay for the current month as it's there. Does that make sense? Probably, you got that look on your like, you deduct your pay. So they're already the policyholder's already paying, but they're building up to pay for this month. That
And
makes
we
sense?
did that so the business owners aren't hurt that that person was.
They're not having to front the bill, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. So keep I know it's a lot of information versus looking at me, we're not talking to you, and we're not friends no more.
No, I was looking serious on both of them, paying attention.
I know, I'm just kidding.
And it's also say like any essay, any GA, your AD, DeAnn, Amanda, and senior agents are here to help answer the questions.
Absolutely. Conservation's not one of these, because you guys got a lot on your plate, especially being new out in the field, trying to figure out the ropes and all of that stuff. So this is on the back end of how do you protect what you're out there fighting so hard to do.
Like I sat in DeAnn's office now, and she's like, students, this is like, can you just highlight what I need for this, please? Because it was more complicated.
Yeah, so
And you did it.
conservation gets a lot more complicated, but this is the basic 101 that I felt to it. This is what we're doing, why we're out there fighting. It's you still standing in the back behind you, fighting to keep what you were fighting out there in the field. Yeah, so hard. That enrollment, that policy that you wrote, you're like excited, you got that nice check. And then boom, a week later, you're like, what? 20 people quit? Are you kidding me? Well, you get to it and you start making calls. You start shooting text message, emails. I have scripts, we have emails. You don't have to recreate the wheel, just be like, somebody have a script for me because I need to text this person. And I'm gonna go over a little bit now, moving over to what I just told you guys to get pulled up on the shared drive.
I'm excited for this part. Here's today. Oh my God.
Everyone has access to it, right? I'm taking silence as a yes. Thank you. Everyone has access to it. The conservation transfer for payroll deduction. Spreadsheet that Dan was talking about. Do you have access? Where would it be? This one?
It's under conservation. Just type in conservation in your Google Drive and it should pull it up.
You have it.
Thanks.
I was looking at the list, sorry. I was doing that because if you didn't have it, then I would add you.
All right, guys, so getting into the second part of this, I wanted to leave a few minutes to go over one thing that was just most recent I helped Danielle with and kind of give you guys a little bit of insight of on the more complicated side of conservation. Just gonna hit some bullet points, but I want to get through this first. So we talked about what we do. Somebody leaves their job, right? Kind of giving you guys the basics, clear as mud, but we'll get there. So when do you know if that person left their job? You're busy out in the field. You've got routes, 10 blocks, Monday meetings, Friday training, this training, that meeting. You got more walk-ins, more packs. When do you find out when this person fell off payroll deduction and they left
7
their
o'clock at
job?
night when you're watching Netflix, checking news.
When it
Bingo.
hits your ICN.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for those of you that are here, she mentioned it. Where's the first place it shows up at?
I see.
ICM. Everybody been in their ICM?
Yep.
Of course, it'd be the one I put a question mark.
She has not yet.
Has not yet. Okay, you will. You've seen it. I've heard of it. What is it?
I've been in it.
You've been in it.
You asked about chargebacks.
Yeah.
So your ICM, as you all know, is where your paycheck, it comes from, how it's done, what goes on with it. You will see chargebacks and you will start to see them on there. So then you can go and investigate said chargeback and click on it. It opens it up. You can get information. What are we doing?
Is D-Rick going to his office?
Yes. Probably.
Yeah.
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 So we have, the first place that you'll find that you have a chargeback is on your ICM. Second place is there'll be sometimes that you actually get a phone call. This should be automatic. Looks like it. Second place that you'll get notified is what?
Business.
The business can call you, and that does happen. So expect your business owners to call you. They should have your cell phone number so that they can call you. And you do that when you partner with them at the end of the enrollment. You're talking to the bookkeeper. You're like, hey, anybody leaves, please put this wherever you need it. Let me know. I'll help take care of the billing so that you don't have to stress about da 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 da. Don't want you to worry about that because I know that sometimes that happens and then you're like, what do I do? Don't want to overload you right now, but go ahead and take my card. Anybody go, you guys decide that somebody's no longer going to work with you or they've retired. You can give me a heads up notice. I will jump on it, have it prepared. So it's a nice smooth transition. Because they know that policies go with them. They don't remind them.
I was gonna say, if you have them on online billing too, you can check in when people fall off, because all that they have to do is they go in there and press an X, and then it gives you a notification, hey, so-and-so has fallen off.
That is a new feature that did not used to be there, but it's a very nice feature.
Yep.
So you can check. Also, so if you see a chargeback, you're like, what happened? Go to the online billing, look at your franchise and go, oh, they fired 5 people. Woo." So now you know you need to start making phone calls. You need to add that into your schedule for the week because you need to be calling them immediately. To start that said report of, hey, I know you just lost your job, you're no longer working there. Is everything, you know, I hope you're doing okay. Did you find a new job yet? Yeah, actually I turned my notice, it's great, you know, or I'm retired now. Oh, congratulations, or I got canned. I hate these people. No, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
To speak to that, I mean, if someone did get fired, we're hiring PR.
right? You go there.
Saying,
I closed a case off of conservation.
that's not dirty. They need a job. We need people.
I closed a case off of conservation.
Dang.
I can send a policy going to your accounts.
You did. You did. I could serve a couple policies right up underneath you too.
Battle.
Battle of the conservations. Man, I should set something up like that. That'd be fun competition.
That would be a great monthly competition. That should be like a February one.
The first one to steal five conservations. That'd make you work on it. Make sure.
Where's all Reggie's conservation?
That would make you
Oh, okay.
that would make you very aware of what was in your conservation tracker under your name to make sure it's all got notes in it.
That could be a great beginning of the year, we'll know.
Just go in there,
People like this
working on it,
idea.
working on it.
I'm gonna be all bunked.
Go in there and lock it.
Alright, so you're gonna get notified by looking in your ICM. You're gonna get notified by if they check, mark them off on the online billing. Do you get an email? I've not been on the receiving end of that, so that's, I
I-
still never,
Amanda sends
Depends.
emails. I know that.
Well, Amanda sends emails to at least the ADs, and then Derek goes, why aren't you guys CC'd on it? So then he forwards it to us. So, I don't know, it depends.
Okay.
I don't know. So there's also a lost business.
Yeah.
There's a lost business. Yeah.
yeah, the lost business that and but conservation and that's what I was asking, because if they actually do send out notification, that's really cool. It's just, I know that's something they started within the last month or so, so it's kind of new.
Let me check.
But if any of you find out, that's great, but moving on. So the next place you're gonna get notification is, there is what's called Sam's report.
Yeah.
This is everything that happened the whole entire week. Comes to each agency from home office in a group, I mean, it's 100 pages long. We go through it as the QMs, separate it out, divide it by teams, drop it in emails. It's gonna be all the policies you submitted, all the policies that are approved, all the policies that were declined. You got big drafted.
I don't think the agents get SAMs, I think it's.
No, they do not. And so it's gonna have all the activity that happened with policies falling off, not falling off. So that goes to the ADs and the upper management. They get with their teams and it's taken care of from there. So you're gonna get notified by SAMs. This is the other way to find notifications. So reason to get with your supervisor, make sure, hey, is there anything in mind? Your supervisors are going to you, hey, you have 5 policies. Let me show you how to conserve. We need to get together this week. Find about 15-20 minutes. We can sit down and prep, start making phone calls. All right, so as soon as Amanda gets the SAMs reports from home office, and these are the Saturday SAMs, they come in on Saturday, so we get these into the tracker here. So I want you guys to take a look at this right here. So we have, this is back in June. We're on Diana's. So these just came through on the 23rd. How do I get rid of this so I can? Make it go.
Minimize, so, there,
There we go. All right, so this tracker here has got it listed by 80s. You guys can see it has Diana, Terry, Derek, Tommy has his over here. This one's where they've been conserved, and then there's not taken out. So as you guys can see, I have over here AD column is over here. So there's sometimes that policy is touched by 2 or 3 different people. It's going to be the person that wrote it, person it was commissioned to, and then if it was, you know, you've got a GA, you want to make sure that the GA and SA are notified. So you want AD, SA, and agent if an agent wrote the policy or it was commissioned to the agent. It's the agent's paycheck's affected. They didn't write it. So the SE and the GA are gonna help take care of that, try and make sure that they save their agent, or at least teach you how to do it at that point. If you're gonna come over here, if you're an agent, look for your name, see if you see anything first, that's your first priority. So you have dates here, you guys are confused as to why there's so many different dates here. We have regulations here, procedural regulation dates in our office, and it's fairly genuine around the rest of the offices throughout Globe Life on how they do conservation with in-house. Some of them do it, QM calls for everything. That falls off, it's the QMs. They don't have time for it, they don't care anymore, you just take care of it, make sure we keep our consistency. Which makes a paycheck, but you also lose a little if you're not participating and helping. But they will also have like, some of them will have weekly conservation meetings where they'll all get together and everybody grabs a table, here's a list, start making calls, and they just hammer it out, and they have pizza and, you know, sodas and stuff, and sit there, just do it.
That sounds fun.
I know, that's what I thought. Anybody's into it, I'll head one up.
Conservation party?
What day would that be?
I don't know, it'd probably be a Friday, like an hour after work or something, we all get together and do a conservation party.
I request a bell every time we save one.
No,
we
we're
ring the
not
bell.
the Wolf of Wall Street.
Because then somebody be on the phone and you're over here ringing a bell, I'm like, we got one. Alright, so date received was 9/23. Date to the manager, which is ADGASA, right here, date to the manager 9/23. It's in green, so that means right now, I can't call on this policy and conserve it. I have no rights to this policy yet. For a week, from 10/7, I can start calling on that policy. Amanda and myself can, the AD, the agent, whoever is owning that policy can call on it. A week later, it goes to the agency. Guess what happens at that point? Anybody, it's open to anyone.
So
I
we
can go,
get it at the green.
when it's green, it is available to you. So Reggie, let's see, Bailey, you're on Terry's team, so you would not be able to call anyone in this most current list. Because this is still in Terry, in Diana's lap for her to conserve, so if you were done with yours. If you're wanting to come over here and pick on Terry, I still can't. This is up to Terry still, and the QMs I still have another couple days, so I have to wait. Alright, so now, oh wait, I'm open, cool. I got policies I can call. Oh, let me see. I don't see any notes. That's a heck of a lot of policies. Yeah, so let's go ahead and start.
So anything that.
Bailey's all quit looking. So do you see what, does that, is that clear? Guys on the dates, does that make sense? So it immediately goes to the managers, which is your AD, your GA, and your SA. They have a week to take care of that. Then the second week, it opens up to the QMs. Now, there's 2 weeks, you still have 2 weeks to still get to it before it's open to the whole entire agency, but you also have to know both your QMs are kind of going, I'm bored. I ran out of my projects, yes, I go,
I'm gonna go make some money.
gonna go make some money. But then it's open to the entire agency. Now, over here, the notes section, guys, this is very important, and I beg of you to be courteous. And keep in mind that if you're not courteous, you will be removed from this tracker. It is not even it's not even a funny, it's not even a joke. I see stealing when there's not supposed to be. The conservation will be reversed. I will send up an email to home office and have it reversed. And your conservation forms will be highly scrutinized every time they're turned in. It's not allowed to go in there and take somebody else's policy until it is open to the agency. Here's the other thing. You're over here. You got Diana, Nicole, Diana, Reggie, Diana, Julia. And look over here, all the way over, she's called 9/8, she's made phone calls over here, so it was open to the agency even though it was available to her. But do you see that the first phone call wasn't until 9/8? There was a huge gap in there, and we have busy schedules, guys, we do. So don't get judgy when you see that. I've had a couple comments come back and go, they waited over a month. You know, I gave them time. No, it's how busy were you?
Alright.
We all have insane schedules. It's how our days work. We thrive on insanity, right?
Hopefully.
You have to.
If not, there's the door.
Right. So, but anyway, so you come over here and you look, okay, it's been a couple weeks since Nicole called. It is open for another phone call. 6:30 PM. All right, she called at 6:30. That's not late in the evening, that's pretty decent, trying to catch somebody hour. Maybe I'll try 4:30, maybe closer to 5, maybe they're one of those that gets off at 3 by, 6:30, that's super evening time for them and the family. I'll just try a little bit earlier in the evening, or you try a bright early morning phone call. You can see LVM left voicemail.
So what would you think a good, like, let her do versus calling right back to that? What would you think a good time? Before I try to call something else?
If she called at 6:30, I would probably try and call between 4 and 4:30.
Oh, he's asking like how long, so like say it was like.
I give her a couple days or a week. I mean, I wouldn't be calling on the 11th and be going, hey, by the way, she just left a message a couple days ago, give her a chance, maybe texting back.
I'm just
and forth.
curious, cause I
Yeah.
don't want anybody stepping on
Yeah.
anybody's toes, cause then we look desperate as a agency
Yes,
if everybody.
and it's
calling back.
happened before. We will have, you've got notes all going on, they've been communicating, and the client calls here. We don't know anything. We pick up the phone, we're going through. You've been talking to her because you were at the re-enrollment. We don't know that. You didn't put any notes in here.
So at that time, would you refer them to that person, whoever?
If we happen to conserve it, we do call up in the office, we pull it back out of our name and put it right back into yours. So there's none of that cutthroat.
Okay.
It does not happen. We resolve it and fix it immediately. If it happened, you bring it to our attention, we'll fix it.
Unless we mess up your week, right?
If you're Bobby, it's not gonna happen for you.
It's fine.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so say somebody has policies and they're from a different company, like, okay, I've got policies through Springfield
Okay,
and I had them when I worked at the Forge.
Yep.
They call me, but they only let it ring like once and then they hang up.
did you have a voicemail?
Oh, no.
Yes. Like
Okay.
they don't even wait for it to go to voicemail. I think one time they did, but I was busy at the time and no, they don't. If they call, they only ring once, maybe twice, and then they hang up.
Normally when it does that, there is a it's a bot caller. And it literally will ring your phone to get your attention, but it sends you straight to the voicemail because you don't really want to talk and you just want to leave them a voicemail. And there's a lot of companies do that with spam and like sales calls. It's a system that you can set up on your phone and you'll call somebody and it'll either not ring or it'll only ring once and go straight to your voicemail. I wonder if that's what it is. They're trying to get to your voicemail to have you call back. Cause it's a very passive way to harass somebody on a sales is by going straight to their voicemail.
But I think.
Unobtrusive, but you're still doing sales calls. If Springfield office wanted to conserve policies, I would think they would want to talk to you. That's
Yeah, I would too. Like I've got all my policies. I have not yet gotten conserved or nothing.
Yeah, no, you can just get them conserved over to bank draft and take them out of the other agent's name, especially and you can have somebody else do it.
But would they do that if it's 2 different agencies?
I can conserve. Can you take a Knuckles agency franchise away from them?
Absolutely. It's been 2 years.
If it's been 2 years,
So.
all that has to be is 2 weeks for it to be past due and it's eligible for recode.
John.
So Danielle, you and I can talk about this later.
Heck yeah, we will.
Get her done. All right, so you guys understand the week date here and understand why. So we're talking about the notes. Make sure you put your notes in. And I would get yourself a little notebook that you keep on the side that's conservation. You make notes in there. And it's something you follow up on, you get a few 5 minutes, you're like, I remember they said that they might be leaving next week. Shoot, is that in that Sam's report? And you need to make sure you go in there. Already speaking with them, conserving next week. Do not call. And when I go through and I see that, I'm like, all right, Bobby's already on it. Walk away from that one, leave it alone. Do you all know how to search in a Google sheet?
Control H.
No.
H does every sheet.
All tabs?
Yeah. Try it. Search for Control H and then look up Nola. Nola's on Derek's tab.
She's a freaking Google Sheets.
You can search and it searches all 5 sheets in there.
This is how I do re-enrollments. Yes.
Do you know how many trackers I have that have? That I'll put it in the search bar and I'll tab.
And it will change your life.
You have changed my life ultimately.
Try it right now.
No, I don't want to. I'll get too excited and I'll forget what I'm talking about.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so now you guys know a second way to look in your whole entire tracker. So when you're talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, I left my job a couple weeks ago, man, I meant to reach out, but I'm so glad you called. I want to keep my policy. You're talking to them. Control F or Control H and search the tracker to make sure you're not missing putting your notes in. It helps. I know it's an extra step, but it helps eliminate your policyholder getting a second or third or phone call. Now, if nobody has called these people and it's been over a month, I can tell you right now, home office is calling. They aren't gonna clarify and calm everybody down. They aren't stealing your policies. They're conserving it for you, but know that they are being harassed. Your policyholder is being harassed because they don't have the relationship you have with that policyholder. They aren't careful and cautious because that you know that one policyholder can cost you that whole franchise, cost you your reputation with their family and their friends. They're not going to say, yeah, you know what, you need to go talk to my brother that runs a business down the street. They're not going to tell you that because you've done offended them. So home office is calling, and they're not easy when they're phone calls. We've had so many complaints. So just make sure that you let them know, hey, if you happen to start getting phone calls from our corporate office, please let me know, and I'll make sure that they stop and let them know that we're already in contact. We're taking care of your policy. But they're overprotective. They want to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So always go in. They're not being bad, even though we don't want them calling our people. Leave them alone. Let me do my job. You stay out of it. Yes.
Never mind, I'll ask you after.
So just keep that kind of stuff in mind when you're calling. Make your notes. And this tracker is there for you to have a place to go start. All right, Ryder. Let's go with you. Over here on here. You're done. You're done. Or actually, Ryder, you jumped over here and decided to go sit on there.
What?
You decided to come there.
You decided to jump over here. You got done with your tracker. You've got,
Oh, this is a hypothetical.
yes. You've gotten Terry's tracker all caught up. You've gotten all the conservation done. You've made as many phone calls, text messages, emails that you can. So you're like, still got a half hour. Are you gonna quit?
Yeah,
Jump over to another tracker. It's open to the agency. It's been sitting here since July 8th.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause otherwise they're gonna be,
What can we do?
you'll take post and
Yeah.
then I can't record from that other computer.
We
which I
don't
can
want
set
that.
up.
I can hear you.
No, I'm like, it's very tricky. You gotta have all the things.
You guys, please.
All
mute
of the
yourselves.
things.
Tony, Diana,
Yes, ma'am.
can you guys mute yourselves, please?
I'm sorry. I thought I did. My bad.
It's all good. All right, so any ideas, Ryder, what you're gonna do with this policy?
Steal it.
Okay,
Conservative.
gonna do conservation. All right. So date it got to Amanda and to Derek was 7/8. How many months can we waive? This is a July policy, so make some assumptions here. When is the policy past due? Anybody want to help them out? When would the policy have been dropped off?
September, or September between the first.
No, when would it have gone to needing to be conserved? In other words, they left the business when?
Oh,
So if it's 7/8, we got it. More than likely, they left their job at the end of the month, beginning of the month, right around there. We're gonna assume it's been about a week. Okay, just make that assumption. So you don't know, your first question is gonna be, did they pay their June bill? Oh, God, they did. Okay, June bill's paid. Was there a payment made to cover the July bill? Epic's gonna tell you that. It's gonna tell you paid to date. All right, so if they're paid in July, you're like, cool. So I can call this person because that means they only owe for August, September, and what are we gonna do at this point? When we call this person, so we've already figured out that they left the job sometime in June, July. We now went into Epic, we looked, we're like, oh, they did pay for June. They did pay for July, so they now owe for August, September,
We're gonna waive August.
gonna waive August. And what are we gonna tell them we call them today? Today is the 27th.
That they're past due and then offer to waive it.
Yeah, it's on his policy. All he's looking at doing is conserving our policy, helping out the agency with conservation and adding another renewal in his pocket. So you're gonna
so we get the
go.
renewals then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get paychecks every week over this. My average,
Start getting.
I blame, my average is about $100 a month. That's all I get. Everybody renews because I don't do it enough. But I did that in a matter of less than a couple weeks' time that I really focused on
Yeah,
it.
that's $1,200 at the end of the year that you didn't have before.
Exactly how I look at it. So you can waive those 2 months. You're gonna offer to waive August and September because we're already at the 27th. Unless you're like, I totally forgot about that. I had the bills and the check sitting right here. You know what? Cool. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do is we're gonna 3-way call you right into customer service. We're gonna pay that. And I'm gonna get you over a form and get that sent in. We'll get you switched over to bank draft. You never have to worry about it.
I get the benefits for getting them to pay all the past due.
A big bonus,
Yeah.
big bonus.
What's that? Oh,
There is an added bonus to get them to pay that 2 months. So try.
Oh, really?
But if it's not your
Don't offer it
policy, are
right
you
away.
going to argue with them or make them feel uncomfortable about it? Or are you just gonna tell me you don't have to pay your bill?
Yeah.
They're like, really? I don't? You're like, no. They're like, you're amazing.
Or
Like, I know, right?
you'd be
Here,
super
sign right here.
sketchy and be like, I
Done.
got a big bonus.
And so that's how, I mean, I know I'm kind of making light of it, making fun of it, but that's how you have to go at it. And even if it was your policy, if that was your only option, right, or would you offer the 2 months?
Yes,
Take the hit?
that's the last.
Cause they only paid 3 months in, you're gonna be paying back 9 months. I'd rather, okay, I'll eat it for 2 months rather than that whole entire time.
Right.
So you're gonna call them, you're gonna offer them immediately saying, hey, I heard you left such and such a place, you know, I know you were meeting with Derek and Danielle. They're great people, we're all in the same office, I was just giving you a quick call to let you know your policy does go with you. You know. Then you go from there and let them start talking, you just start going through the conservation. But you offer immediately, you know, I'll tell you what, we're gonna get you back on your feet, get that policy back in force for you, so you and your family are protected. I'm gonna go ahead, I got pre-authorization to go ahead and wait for you August and September. And your first draft would come out of your bank on the 5th or the 10th, whatever day works better for you. You can pick anywhere from that 1st to the 10th. Okay, perfect. Routing number, account number, blah, blah. So then you turn the form in. Any questions on this tracker, guys?
So the last thing, once you conserve it, that's when you need to transfer everything over to the reinstated. Sort of tab, right?
You just want to highlight the whole row.
Just highlight
Yeah,
whole
the whole
row. So-
Yeah, you just put your notes in there, conserve or conserving tomorrow, getting bank information tomorrow. Notes are important. Date, time, your description of what you did. Don't write me a book.
Right.
Abbreviate it, put your initials.
If you scroll down, there's a bit of notes for people who did not want their policies. Down in like line 1920, you know, the roaring 20s.
It's in the bottom sheet.
Well, this is for like Derek specifically.
Yes.
Yeah, so, this is generally where I'll just highlight green over here, not the whole line. I don't care. If you guys conserve it, highlight the whole in green, put a bunch of exclamation points, whatever make happen.
The reinstated. So, okay.
Yeah.
That was my main question. So I was like, I've never really.
Now, what do you do, Ryder, if you're wanting to conserve that policy for Derek? Can you see that in Epic? I give him all the details? What would you do? Wing and a prayer?
You want to consider something that's not yours.
Yeah. You can't see it in Epic. What would be your first go-to? Me? That works? Exactly. Yep, go to your QM. Exactly. You go to Amanda, send her an email, say, hey, I'm gonna be working on some conservation. A couple of these policies aren't mine, but they're open to the agency, and just copy, paste, and she'll send you over the policy detail page, and I'll give you what you need. Really quick before I wrap up, I'll give you the second one, is, maybe lose track. Thank you very much. Based off of what he said.
Who do you go to?
Oh, yes. Best times to call to conserve. Morning, around between 9 and 10. You get earlier, you're gonna get the people that are rushing out the door for work, or you woke somebody up when they're really mad. Lunch times, 12:30 to 1, 12 to 1, 12:30, 11:30 to 12:30 seems to be the prime. Anything after 12:30, they're usually running back into work, or, you know, they were 11:30 to 12:30 lunch person. Saturdays, 10 to 1 o'clock was where I made my money and I had my most success. If you wait till Sunday, they've already had all weekend, all Friday night, Saturday night, spend their paycheck. They don't have no money for you. And they're, all they stare down is 2 more weeks before they get paid again. So you're in the backseat for 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. So 10 to 1 on Saturdays. I would spend a couple minutes every evening. I'd pull up, okay, so this policy here is, all right, that was one on my team. I can call it, print out the policy details page, work up my math. They've had this policy for 2 years. They spent this much money to home office. If they lose this policy now, ooh, I can offer them 2 months, or actually this one is 3 months. We're close. We only have a week left. So I know my argument back to them is like, I only have 3 more days. Otherwise we'll have to pay all this back and I won't be able to waive it. So you work that through. I get 5 of them a day. By Saturday, I sat down, take phone calls. Already had all my information and I move on. And I throughout the week, I gather my information, have at least 20, 30 phone calls. I'd spend about an hour.
So if somebody was to have a policy and whatever, they let it lapse after that 3 months or whatever, does that lapse follow them? As in like a bad credit report, but for insurance, so if it was to go get it out of.
For you as the agent or the policyholder?
The policy holder, I know we have the vet staff balance,
Yeah.
but do they have something like that for them?
No.
Be cool if they did though.
I was gonna say that. that's like
Yeah.
that.
You're like, I'm gonna send you to collections. They're like, oh, are you?
If you don't pay this, then.
Yep.
Quick question, what time you said, Monday through Friday morning?
Mornings is usually, I have my best luck, on the half hour marks. For some reason, if I was calling out like at 9:30 and I kind of wrapped up around closer to 10:30. So I would say your 9 and 10 o'clock hour, and then your 11:30, 12:30.
Yeah.
Evenings is always a given between, usually starting at 4 o'clock till about 6:30 is your average. And then Saturdays is your prime time, 10 to 1. I will dive more into this. I want to get to a point to where we can do a real quick brief on